All right, fifth grade. Today we're going to be continuing with the work that we did yesterday, and that means that we're going to be using context clues in order to find meaning. Copy the date and the I can statement onto the next blank page of your notebook. Why are we doing this? This lesson is extremely important because when you're reading throughout this year and in the rest of your life, anytime you come across a word or a phrase that you're not sure what it means, you can usually use context clues to make a good guess about the meaning. Now remember, when we talked about context clues yesterday, we were talking about words, but today we're going to be focusing on finding the meaning of phrases in a text. This is a skill that great readers use and top high schoolers use, and it's something that you're going to be using on the end of your test, so it's something that you really want to focus on knowing how to do. For example, if I say, SciTech won the game last night, the running back ran the defense like a freight train, what am I trying to say about the running back? What does the simile like a freight train mean? I might not know, but I might guess initially that it means he was tackled right away. Well, wait a second, that doesn't sound quite right to me. If they won the game, then he must have done pretty well. He must not have been tackled right away. I bet that his running like a freight train means that he ran incredibly fast through the defensive line. Now, make sure that you're taking your time to answer all of these questions. If you're not sure about the answer to a question, you can always go back and rewatch that part of the video in order to know. Now, I'm going to read aloud, starting from paragraph 4 in the Persephone story. Make sure you find it with your finger right now and follow along with me while I read. Remember, Miss Lieber and Miss Holden are watching you to see where you're reading. Now, put your finger right next to where it says Dead Souls, just like here on page 2. And I'll start reading now. Dead souls crowded out from cracks and crevices to look at their new queen, while ever more souls came across the Styx, and Persephone watched them drink from a spring under dark poplars. It was the spring of death, and those who drank from its waters forgot who they were and what they had done on earth. Rhadamanthus, a judge of the dead, dealt out punishment to the souls of great sinners. They were sentenced to suffer forever under the whips of the avenging Ares. Heroes were led to the Elysian fields, where they lived happily forever in never-failing light. Around the place of Hades, the palace of Hades, there was a garden where whispering poplars and weeping willows grew. They had no flowers and bore no fruit, and no birds sang in their branches. There was only one tree in the whole realm of Hades that bore fruit. That was a little pomegranate tree. The gardener of the underworld offered the tempting pomegranates to the queen, but Persephone refused to touch the food of the dead. Wordlessly, she walked through the garden at silent Hades' side, and slowly her heart turned to ice. Above, on earth, Demeter ran about, searching for her lost daughter, and all nature grieved with her. Flowers wilted, trees lost their leaves, and the fields grew barren and cold. In vain did the plow cut through the icy ground. Nothing could sprout, and nothing could grow while the goddess of the harvest wept. People and animals starved, and the gods begged Demeter again to bless the earth, but she refused to let anything grow until she had found her daughter. Bent with grief, Demeter turned into a gray old woman. She returned to the meadow where Persephone had vanished and asked the sun if he had seen what had happened. But he said no. Dark clouds had hidden his face that day. She wandered around the meadow, and after a while she met a youth whose name was Triptolemus. He told her that his brother, a swineherd, had seen his pigs disappear into the ground and had heard the frightened screams of a girl. Demeter now understood that Hades had kidnapped her daughter, and her grief turned to anger. She called to Zeus and said that she would never again make the earth green if he did not command Hades to return Persephone. Zeus could not let the world perish, and he sent Hermes down to Hades, bidding him to let Persephone go. Even Hades had to obey the order of Zeus, and sadly, he said his farewell to the queen. Now, I noticed that in paragraph 9, I wasn't totally sure what the word perish meant. So I'm going to create a Cornell note in order to use context clues to understand its meaning. So, on the left side of my page, I'm going to write the word perish. And on the right side of my page, I'm going to write these things. Number 1, I ask myself, what are my context clues? Well, I know that plants and animals have been dying because Demeter is so sad. Number 2, what is the definition of the word perish? I think that if plants and animals are dying, then that must mean that the word perish means to die. And 3, what words can I replace perish with? So now I'm going to test out my idea for number 2. Zeus would not let the world die. That seems to make sense, so I know that I've got a pretty good definition for the word perish. Now, if I said perish in real life, I would say, the New Orleans weather was so hot, the plants perished in the heat. Look, this plant right here is perishing because it's dying. Now, let's check and see how we're doing with context clues. Read this sentence. The Loud family on vacation was especially vociferous because they had even more to talk about. Now answer the question with your best guess about what the word vociferous means.